Lisa.
Hey, everybody. Oh, I just have some
Hi, Lisa.
quick good morning. Good afternoon now. I sent Anita, I sent you an email a few days ago asking for your speech objectives and what you personally want to work on. So if you can chat me that, I never got something from you, I would really appreciate it.
I sent it back last night. I didn't see it till yesterday. And so I sent it back last night, but I'll chat.
Okay, let me look at my mail while you all are starting. Thank you.
Oh, Lisa, I apologize. I have notes for you, but my computer's really hardly worked all week. I couldn't type you anything, but I still have some notes. So if you're interested, I will get them to you eventually. I got a full eval for you.
Yeah, that's fine. And you're freezing up periodically, I noticed.
Oh, well, I have a very bad internet connection, but at least it's working now. The last few Zooms, I just had to use a phone or go to someone else's place to use their computer. Now it's working, sort of.
All right, well, it's time to get started, everybody. Welcome to another Expressions Unlimited Toastmasters meeting. I believe we have almost all the roles filled, but we do need a chat monitor. I don't know if Corey, if you would be able to do that for us.
Sure.
Okay.
What does the chat monitor?
So the chat monitor, if anybody has any questions throughout the meeting, they can send them to you directly. And then also at the end, we'll be voting to you and you'll count the ballots.
Okay, ballot counter, okay.
Yeah, so just a reminder to, when we get to voting for the best speaker and the best evaluator and the best table topics, to privately chat, Corey, your votes for each of those categories. So we'll remind you when we get to that point in the meeting. And then, of course, if you have any questions or technical issues, send them over that way. What was that, Angel?
The watcher who looks to see if anyone's distracting anyone else. Who's doing that today?
Yeah, so that's the other role we still needed.
I can do that too.
You want to do both? Oh,
sure.
That would be great. Thank you.
Actually, I like that. I like that role.
All right. Well, with that, I think we have a full slate. So we'll just real fast. So I am your Toastmaster today as well as the president. So we'll just kind of be flowing from one thing to the next. So here is our agenda for today. Our theme is traveling the world. The word of the day is audacious. Paul will get into more detail on that. And Megan is our grammarian, so she'll be listening for that during table topics. I don't see any guests at this point. Just double check. Yeah. So we'll just real quick go over who's doing what. Paul is our table topics master of the day. Jesse is the counter. Megan's grammarian. Deanna is timer. Angel is general evaluator. And then Corey is taking the chat monitor, ballot counter, and watcher.
Wow.
Yes. And then our speakers today are Anita and Stacy, and they will be evaluated by Lisa and Jerry. So I actually think everybody here has a role, which is great too. And if you haven't put it next to your name, that would be helpful if you could do that as well, so we know who's doing what. All right, so the theme that we picked today is travel the world. And when I was talking to Paul, I said I wanted to do something positive and uplifting and focus on that today. And I know I have a lot of just wonderful memories of traveling over the years to reflect back on. And then also a great deal of the joy of traveling, I think, is planning out trips and researching them. And that is something we can still do right now. Even if we're not quite sure when we'll make it to that place, we can still get enjoyment out of, researching and watching travel blogs. And Pinterest is just a wealth of information on different places to check out around the world. And I did ask a few people, I asked if you guys wanted to participate, and I love that a few people did choose a favorite place or country to represent in your background. And hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that. This scarf I chose because my sister got it for me on a trip to Paris that we went on together. And that was just, a life-changing trip for us. And it was just magical and really checked a lot of bucket list items off. And, there's so many benefits to travel that we could get into, but I thought I would just touch on two, and then hopefully we'll hear more later on. But for me, the first one is just, broadening our horizons and our perspectives, learning more about other cultures and how they work, and, experiencing their life brings us closer together and gives us, more empathy, more caring. I think it also shows that we're more alike than we are different, which is good to remember. And then the second thing that I love the most is actually the food. I love trying new things in new countries and getting to experience that. It's different. Obviously there are international restaurants here, but really tasting it in its home country is just, experience not to be missed. So I would say, try something new. We went to Amsterdam last year, and one of the things that's very popular there is actually Indonesian food. There's like a lot of immigrants have gone over and tried that, and that's actually one of the most recommended things to try when you're in Amsterdam. Not Dutch food. And it was just amazing. They do this thing called, I think it's pronounced rijstafel, but it's all these little dishes. So there were like 15 dishes on the table, and it's just like a tasting of all these things. It was very, very interesting. So with that, I'll just, I look forward to hearing your guys' travel stories too, because I think it's a fun, positive topic to focus on these days. We don't have a joke master for today. We skipped that. Actually, we have 2 speeches and we didn't really have a lot of time, so we skipped that. So with that, we're actually ready to get into the prepared speeches of the day. Just some quick reminders. If you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute so the focus is on the speaker of the day. Put yourself in speaker view so you're giving your full attention to them. Anita, you're looking to Deanna for the timer. So she'll be the one holding up the colors for you. So Anita's our first speaker of the day. She's working on project number 2, which is the evaluation project. So she's given the first speech, taken the notes that she received from us the first time around, and is going to apply that to this revised version of the speech. So the title is, What? Chocolate a Superfood? And her time is 5 to 7 minutes. So please welcome Anita.
Thank you, Devin. Who likes chocolate? I love chocolate. And so when I heard that it was a superfood, I decided to check it out. First thing I learned was that chocolate doesn't come from a cocoa bean. There is no cocoa bean. It comes from a seed or a nut. The seed pod is harvested from a cacao tree right here and crushed open and, sorry. Bad timing, sorry. Anyway, the pod is cracked open and the seeds are scooped out. They go through a manufacturing process, and part of that process is the components of the seed are separated out, the cocoa solid and the cocoa butter. The cocoa solid or butter, cocoa powder, is what holds a health benefit. In fact, it holds more antioxidants than just about any other food. And it's been proven to help increase blood pressure, to maintain healthy blood sugar levels, believe it or not, and also to promote strong brain health and cognitive thinking. So now I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry after all that. So there's still a lot of ongoing research on cocoa powder and cocoa solids. There's strong evidence that it can help do things as diverse as fight cancer and control bronchial asthma and also mitigate Alzheimer's. So there's still a lot of research to be done and a lot of research going on. I'm kind of interested to see the results of that research. So after the manufacturers separate out the cocoa solids and the cocoa butter, believe it or not, they put it all back together. And they put it together because the cocoa solid is exactly that. It's a solid. And so the cocoa butter is what gives our chocolate the meltiness and the wonderfulness that we love. They put it together in their certain recipe so that it has the taste and the texture that they want. So you might ask, could I eat a chocolate bar, any chocolate bar, and it would be healthy? And the answer is no, that's too simple. A lot of the manufacturers are, especially the large manufacturers and the bargain manufacturers, they're not really interested in the health benefit. They're interested in the taste or making, getting it out there, getting a lot of chocolate out there and doing it as cost effectively as possible. So a lot of the health benefit is lost in the manufacturing process. And then has anybody heard of Dutch chocolate? I thought Dutch chocolate came from the Netherlands. Well, it doesn't. It's a process. And it's a process where they take the bean and they treat it with an alkaline solution, which neutralizes the acid, the bitterness, and actually takes away the antioxidants. So Dutch chocolate might taste really good, but it just is not as healthy as cocoa from the bean. So what is healthy? What I like to look for are the artisan chocolate makers. These folks are passionate about what they do, and there's a whole bunch of them in the world. And these, the artisan chocolate makers are very, very serious about making a good quality, good texture, and most of them want to maintain the health benefit of chocolate as well. They usually use fair traded and ethically sourced chocolate beans, and so that's another plus, and have a relationship with the farmers and the local growers. These are called bean to bar chocolate makers. They'll have the percentage of cocoa listed on the label. And can you see that? So these, can you see? So these are 3 artisan chocolate makers. And you can see that they have the percentage on the label. However, just because the percentage is on the label, it doesn't mean that it's a healthy chocolate, because anybody can do that. So what you want to do is also look at the ingredients. And you can see that these ingredients are, they start with the cocoa or the cacao, bean, or whatever words they use. They could use cocoa, cacao, they can use chocolate liqueur or cocoa nibs. That's the first ingredient. And then in whatever order, then you'd want cocoa butter and whatever natural sweetener you're using, even if it's cane sugar or other natural sweetener, and then comes any kind of flavoring, natural flavoring that they would have. You definitely don't want, for health benefits, you don't want it to say that it's Dutch chocolate or have any alkaline in the ingredient, because that would mean that it's Dutch. And you never, ever, ever want to eat raw chocolate. It's available, and some people say that you should eat it for health benefit, but you can get very sick from raw chocolate. So I don't know how to unshare my screen. Ah, I'm stuck.
It's at the top. If you're
Okay, that was my big experiment for the day. So is chocolate healthy? Yes, it can be healthy, but it just depends on where you look for your chocolate and what type of chocolate you have. For me, I'm not really worried about it. I'm just looking for a good tasting, high quality chocolate. And if it is healthy, that's a very extra benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. It was very interesting. And I think now we're all hungry for chocolate.
Well, I'm sorry about all the disruptions and I was trying to do it very smoothly, go between the screenshot and the regular, and it just didn't happen. But
No
practice
problem.
makes perfect. That's why I'm here.
Yes, we're getting practice and you tried a new tool. So that's important. So great job. All right, so we'll take 1 minute to do speech evaluations. As a reminder, it's helpful if we can give a couple kind of immediate feedback items privately to Anita through the chat, and then you can follow up with a more detailed evaluation via email after the meeting. But it's nice to get some immediate feedback for our speakers. So take 1 minute to do that. Okay, should be wrapping that up. All right. Our second speaker of the day is Stacy, and she is working out of the interpretive reading book, project number 4, which is the play. For Deanna, the time is 8 to 10 minutes. The title is The History of Why the Chicken Crossed the Road. And the objectives are to adapt a play for interpretive reading, to portray several characters in one reading. And then I'm going to set the scene before we turn it over to Stacy. So picture this. The setting is a small print shop with a large desk, a printing press, and papers stacked everywhere. There's a window looking out on New York City. We see that the sun is setting. Lewis Clark sits reading at the desk. He is wearing a suit that is unkempt. A clock chimes. Clark looks up to see what time it is. The employee's name is Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, hurry up with that. The draft is due in an hour. Here they are, sir. Elizabeth, must you be so clumsy? I'm sorry, sir, so sorry. It's just been a long day. Yes, it has been, and it will be even longer if you don't hurry up. You know how these writers get if the magazine isn't on schedule. If the Knickerbocker is even one day late, they will have my head. I'm sorry, Mr. Clark. I'll be back in a jiff with your tea. What a mess that girl, Elizabeth. I swear sometimes I don't know why I hired her. She's clumsy, she's late, she's way too cheerful. That girl, her tea is awful. I'd rather drink coffee. Her spelling's atrocious, her writing's even worse. That girl, I don't know why, Elizabeth, that girl. Anything else, sir? No, that's all. Elizabeth? Yes, Mr. Clark. What is this? It's a riddle, sir. A riddle? Yes, you told me just last week that I could write one riddle for this next edition. I did? Yes, Mr. Clark. Is this your riddle? Yes. I don't like it. You don't? Does that mean you're not going to print it? I worked so hard. Hard work alone does not merit a place in my magazine. It must be worthy as well. And most importantly, I must like it. Otherwise, what kind of an editor would I be? A fair one? I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I just think this particular riddle is, well, bad. If you can come up with another one within the hour, I will consider printing it. Otherwise, there's always next month. There's no way I can come up with another in an hour. Are you sure you won't consider this one? Do you even understand it? How dare you question my understanding? What I mean is, will you let me tell the story behind it? We haven't the time. Please, Mr. Clark, it will only take a minute or two. Maybe after I explain it, then you will like it better. All right, you have 2 minutes to convince me that this riddle is indeed a valuable addition to this edition, although I'm not sure how much that is going to do. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You'll see, it all started on Monday morning. I was running late. You're always running late. Anyways, I was coming down 45th between Broadway and 6th. I think when all of a sudden this thing appeared out of nowhere, ran across the road, nearly tripping me. Doesn't take much to do that. This thing, a blur, I could not see, ran right in front of me. What was I to do? What had caused my slip? What had interrupted my morning trip? When I looked to see what had startled me, all there was the little chicken. A chicken? A chicken had crossed the road. I began to contemplate. Where was he going and why was he late? Why did the chicken cross the road? That makes no sense. Exactly. Why does a chicken cross the road? I said. The people, they answered. The butcher, he said, to avoid my knife. The husband, he said, to flee from my wife. The grocer, he said, to get to the grain. The baker, he said, just to be a pain. The maid, she said, to see what it's like. The worker, he said, I'm going on strike. The poet, he said, I don't know why. And you know, neither did I. Why does a chicken cross the road? Where could he possibly go? The carpenter, he said, to get a pint. The wife, she said, he got a fright. But the painter, oh, he was bright. A great idea he had. What if it crossed the road to get to the other side? I thought, and I decided that this conundrum, this mystery, maybe, just might, make a good riddle. But does it? I still don't know if I like it. But Mr. Clark, don't but Mr. Clark me. Elizabeth, dear little Elizabeth, You are so young, so new in this world, but don't fret, you'll grow, you'll learn, you will see, my dear, that this world, this place that we live is hard to understand. But you must keep a cool head so not to seem like a girl who doesn't know what it's like to learn about different things, to know why the sky is blue, the grass is green. It's a privilege to know, to learn, to understand, to be a scholar, not for everyone, it isn't. But I want to know. What do you want to know, my dear? I will tell you. I want to know everything. Well, I can't tell you that. There is not the time, and I must return to my work. Wait, I have one more thing to say about the riddle. All right, one more thing. I still don't like it, though. I was thinking just now, what if it's like everything? What do you mean, child? What if the chicken crossing the road is like everything? The same as the reason we do anything. Like we print a magazine every month. We print the magazine because people read it. But is that really why? Why do people read? Why do they do anything? What if the chicken crossed the road just because others did it before him? Just because that's all he knew how to do? What if it was just to fill his time? Elizabeth, are you suggesting that this riddle is akin to the good question of the universe? I don't know. What is the good question of the universe? For what purpose do we do things we do throughout our life? The meaning of life, child. Then yes, I am. Hogwash. What? I still don't like it. Come up with another for next month and we will see. But Mr. No, you go finish cleaning the types. You may go when you finish. Yes, sir, I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Now, where was I? Why did the chicken cross the road? A riddle by Lewis Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Very entertaining. I love these advanced manuals with the very different types of speaking that we can do. It's fun for a change. All right, so 1 minute to do Stacy's evaluation. Just a reminder, her objectives, since they're a little different than for others, is this was an interpretive reading of a play, to portray several characters in one reading, identifying them to the audience through voice change and movement. 1 minute. right, we should be wrapping that up. And Deanna, if we could get a timer's report on the 2 speeches, please.
Sorry, it took me a while to figure out where my mute button was. Both speakers qualified.
Great. So if you're done with the evaluation, if you want to send Corey your vote on best speaker, go ahead and do that. And at this point, I'd like to welcome Angel as our general evaluator, and she will introduce our 2 evaluators. Welcome, Angel.
Oh, there it is. Thank you very much, Devon. So our evaluators today will be Lisa and Jerry, and I'd like to introduce Lisa first to evaluate Anita's speech about the chocolate. Please help me welcome Lisa.
Thank you for that, Angel. So Anita, I loved that speech. It was a lot of fun to watch you. I could tell you had a great deal of enthusiasm for the topic, and I've emailed you more than once, and I believe that in your email you work in the candy industry in some capacity. So this is right up your alley. You're probably the expert with chocolate. I like that you had a lot of details. Some of the things I didn't know. I didn't know about Dutch chocolate being more unhealthy. I did not know that you shouldn't eat raw chocolate because I thought most things are healthier raw. So that was very helpful. I thought that you recovered quickly when you had a technical error. You recovered from that. And I thought that it looked like you were having a lot of fun. You mentioned one of the personal challenges you have with your eyes, and I did not notice any excessive blinking. In fact, I thought you looked great in the camera. So that was really wonderful. And the screen sharing with your picture, with the graphics, that was really great too. I would say if I were to give you 3 things to work on, 1, you were a bit rushed. So you were speaking quickly and that came across a bit. So I would say just work on taking your time. 2nd, I thought that you could pause after asking a question. You asked us a few questions, but then you went right into talking more about the topic. So maybe just a little pause to give us some time to register that question and think about it. And then finally, I would just say there's going to be a lot of technical issues with this new modality in any speech. So don't, just let that go. Don't feel like you have to apologize excessively because it's going to happen, and you did a great job with everything. So you're right. You said it yourself. This is where we practice to get better. And that's what you did today. You took the first speech, you took lessons learned, you practiced, and you did a lot better. And the next one will be better. So just keep it up.
Sorry, having trouble unmuting. Thank you for that, Lisa. Would you all now help me also welcome Jerry, who will evaluate Stacy.
Thank you, Angel. Stacy, what an entertaining and delightful speech that was. I like the voice animation. There was a distinct difference between the voices you were doing. Towards the end, it sounded like you were singing this to us. And I think that takes a lot of courage to give this kind of speech. It's willing to put yourself out there and not be afraid to be a little foolish. And I think that's part of the exercise of doing this. And you did a great job. We could see you were reading it, but you looked up a lot and you used eye movements. You had some really bright eye movements that showed you were very enthusiastic about this. And there was a high level of enthusiasm. So I would give you a very high mark for this because personally, I think I'd have a challenge doing that type of speech. It's something that would stretch me out of my comfort zone. And I think that, it was great to watch somebody, do that and give the animation and enthusiasm to it. I thought your conclusion was very good. The story you picked and how it kind of built to the end, it was giving a philosophy of life. And it was a deeper message than just the the chicken crossing the road. So I thought that the message of it, it was nice to do something that wasn't just, you know, entertaining or silly, that it had some deeper message to it. So I thought you, all in all, you gave a good presentation. You gave it, you put all yourself into it, and I thought it came out great. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jerry, for that evaluation. I agree wholeheartedly. It was quite charming, really adorable. Now I'm going to pass the meeting right back to Devon.
Thank you, Angel, and our evaluators. Deanna, the timer report for the evaluators, please.
Both qualified.
Great. So if you want to send your vote for best evaluator of the day to Corey, that would be great. And with that, we can start table topics with Paul. And Paul, you have till 12:50. So a little bit of about 12 minutes.
12
That's
minutes.
12 minutes. That means I could probably get 12 in. We'll see. We shall see. So I thought Devin had a really interesting theme of travel and places we've been, and to try to give us something to think about that's uplifting. And as a lot of you know, I recently went to Milan. I actually just beat the disease, it looks like. I was there in the beginning of February, and then all badness broke loose, it seems like, in the March timeframe. So good news is about that. But that was my first trip to Europe. Very, very fun. And I wanted to show you this. I got this book as a, I don't know if you can see this, it's Walking Milan. Might be backwards. It looks backwards on my screen, but I guess it might not be for you. But my in-laws bought this for me, and I thought it was kind of cute because it's a National Geographic, and it's about walking Milan and all the fun things you can do in Milan. I actually did use this a little bit when I was there, and there was some interesting things on how they broke up Milan and how they broke up travel. So I thought we'd kind of walk through the book real quick, and it gave me some ideas of what to ask. So the first part of the book, it talks about Milan in a day and all the things you could do if you just had one day. So my question is, if you could pick one city or place for one day only, where would you like to spend that one day in? Let's start with Megan.
And the word of the day is audacious.
That's right. Thank you. Audacious, which is extremely bold or daring. So Megan, one day, where would you be?
Really, I think that, oh gosh, definitely I'd be at the beach, but because Tommy can't be in the sun for that long, I guess I won't be at the beach. But if I could, where would I be? I would be in Cuba. I thought that my trip in Cuba, it was just beautiful. Everything about there was beautiful. And of course, anything you bought was dirt cheap, because in Cuba, they just sort of work off, they get their money from the tourists. So they really work towards getting, but I just think everything around was just audacious. Everything. It was beautiful. And so I think that Cuba or the Virgin Islands, if you want to get better for the water. But I think Cuba is the best. Well, I don't know where the timer is.
Oh, you did good. Good job, Megan. One of the other chapters in the book is around tips, travel tips. If you visit Milan, here are some tips of things you should do. My question to you is, can you give us 1 to 2 travel tips that you might have? Whether it's travel tips on how to be safe or travel tips just in general. What are 1 to 2 travel tips that you could offer us that we could all benefit from? Let's have Lisa do that one.
Thank you for that question, Paul. I love traveling, and I've been very fortunate to go to several countries with my daughters. Probably one of my favorites was going to France and spending time in Normandy and among all the just beautiful places in Paris. But what happened to me in Paris was I had my phone stolen when I was on the subway and we were traveling to one of the sites. And it was so quick. I had my phone in a front pocket, far down, but this young man was so swift and silent. And luckily, I saw him going up the stairs holding a phone that looked just like mine. And I confronted him, which was probably the wrong thing to do. And I yelled at him to give me my phone, and he gave it to me. I think he just wanted to get me out of his way. So I would say, travel tip 1, don't bring a really nice, expensive phone. He probably looked at my phone and said, man, this is an old phone anyway, and I'm not going to get anything for it. So he gave it back to me. Bring a cheap old phone. And the second thing was, I recalled keeping my money close by. And a lot of people think that's old, you don't need to do that. But I keep a money belt, and everywhere I go except the shower, I have my passport and my money close to my heart. And I think there are 2 things you should keep in mind.
Awesome.
Because otherwise, it's audacious to have your things stolen.
It is. It's extremely bold or daring. Nice job. All right. Very good. So talking about travel, in some areas, there's a good time of the year to go and there's a bad time of the year to go. I don't know. I think personally, if you go to Texas during the summer, well, you're just asking for it because it's going to be hot. So that's what you can expect. But if you go to Texas, there's certain times of the year where it's actually very pretty. And Texas, I think on the whole, is pretty darn nice. But there's some months, in my estimation, you should avoid. My question to you is, what's one place or a couple of places where you could think that there's a certain time of the year where you should absolutely avoid, or a certain time of the year where it's absolutely beautiful? Let's go with Mr. Corey Murphy on that one.
Thank you, Paul. I love this topic, travel. Travel has changed my life in a lot of ways. One of the times that travel has changed my life is a trip to Indonesia in 1999. It was a big trip for me. I had a trip planned with me and my buddy to go surfing in Indonesia, and the best time for surfing in Indonesia is the summertime. Usually there's a lot of south swells, and south swells pick up really good surf. Some of the best surf in the whole world is in Indonesia. And we had this planned trip. So me and my buddy planned this trip, and I paid for the tickets. And the last minute, my buddy cancels on me. And I think, oh my God, there's no refund for my ticket. And I saved up for it. And it was a huge, huge trip halfway across the world. And I contemplated if I should do this or not. And I made the decision, yes, I'm going to do this. And I went by myself. I got off the airplane, and about 10 to 20 Indonesians tried to grab my bag and rip my surfboard bag out of my hand. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be the worst decision ever. I powered through, and it actually became the best decision. It was the best experience ever because I really feel like I found myself during that time. And I was by myself, and I adapted. I had the audaciousness to persevere and really make something. And I made friends, and I got some good waves. I was successful, and I came back to the United States confident, and the travel really, really brightened my eyes, and I was able to experience something great. Thank you.
That is audacious to go all by yourself. That's crazy. Cool. One of the cool things to do when you're in Europe, I would imagine, is to eat. Eating is fun, especially when you're in a strange place. Sometimes there's interesting foods to enjoy, and sometimes it could give you Montezuma's Revenge, I guess, as an example. It's not so good. So my question to you is, when you've traveled, what is one of the best meals you've ever had? Deanna? I see water, but I don't see Deanna. Is she there? Oh, there she is. Deanna, what's one of the best meals you've ever had traveling?
Okay, the first thing that pops into my mind, because I have Croatia on my mind, is that I had the best pizza there. And you would think, how can I have the best pizza in Croatia? Well, Croatia is very close to Italy, and apparently a lot of the folks go to Italy that work there, and they learn from the chefs there, and they come back and they bring it back to their country. And the reason why it was one of the best is because it was super duper thin, and it was punched with a lot of flavor. It had audacious flavors, but yet it was very simple, fresh, and just cooked perfectly. And now I can just taste it in my mouth right now. Thank you.
Good job, Deanna. Good job. One of the neat things about Milan, as you can imagine, is the shopping. Shopping's great. A lot of fun things to do. When traveling, what's your most favorite place, or what's your best shopping experience? Devin, you look like a shopper. Come on, tell us about your best shopping experience traveling.
Wow. Best shopping. So I would say when we went to Italy, we actually wanted to get some sort of like handmade leather goods, something that they're really well known for. So I think that's what my sister and I were focused on when we were shopping. But when we were in Milan, like we had heard of all these, the famous shopping areas, but then we went and they weren't that different from the fancy malls here. So it was a little like, oh, well, it felt very much like the same stuff I could buy. So we actually waited to shop till we got to some of the smaller little towns. And we did some shopping near Lake Como. They had lots of like little boutiques that seemed more like original and special items. So I got a pair of nice sandals, and I think my sister got a purse. And so we wanted to get like one nice souvenir. So we kind of had saved up our money for that instead of a bunch of little things. So that's usually what I do when I go to a big place like Europe, is choose one big souvenir and then a few little things, but usually one really nice thing that I can remember the trip by that will last a while. Oh,
awesome.
which is not, I didn't say audacious.
You did now.
I did now. Well, yeah. So we wanted to make a audacious purchase in Milan.
Awesome. All right. I don't know about you, but I've been to New York more times than I want to. Actually, I'm kind of tired of the place. But New York is really interesting in the sense that if you stay on the main streets, you're fine, but you take a wrong turn, you go down an alley or something like that, could end up in a suspect place. My question to you is, when was the last time you were lost in a strange place? Jesse.
Thank you for that question, Paul. I go right to Egypt. I was in Egypt in 2008, and we had a great time. Got to see all the pyramids. I was with my best girlfriend. It was her birthday. It was the celebration, and we were on a Gateway 1 tour. The thing is, when we went to leave one port one day, because this was about a 15-day trip. And so we went down the river in one of those barge things, and we got to take a lot of little side tours. There were a lot of places that could have been a little bit dangerous because the streets of Egypt, it's different, and we're not accustomed to that. But the thing is, it was towards the end of the trip, and it was time to go, and I needed money to pay my masseuse. And I went out, got the money, and came back and couldn't find my ship. And somebody just pointed the direction, and I just kept going from ship to ship because I was completely disoriented and I didn't know where it was. And then finally I got on the ship, and that was it. That was our ship. And what I found out was, because we were getting ready to leave, all the boats were pushing out one more slot in order to get ready to disembark. So I felt like it was a close call, but I made it home. Thank you.
Jesse, was there anything audacious about that? That particular
audacious.
incident?
I was really audacious to find my way back. Thank you.
All right, good job.
Thank you, Billy.
All right. Madam Toastmaster, we're at 12:52. I'm going to turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Great job. Deanna, could we get a timers report on the table topics, please?
Everybody qualified?
Awesome. And Megan, as grammarian, did you listen for the word of the day?
I don't. I don't think Lisa used the word of the day. Do I give the grammarian report for everyone?
Not yet. If you hold for just a sec on that.
All right.
Okay. So I think I did hear Lisa use it at the very end. So for voting purposes, we have Megan, Lisa, Corey, Deanna, Devin, and Jesse. If you want to send that over to Corey for the ballot. And now we'll get into our reports of the day. So we'll start with Jesse for the counter report, please.
Okay, the counter, everybody did really great today. I had at least one I caught right in the beginning. Corey had one and one and nobody else had any, except I did notice on Anita, you had like 3 or 4 ahs and a couple ums. That's it. Great work.
Thank you. And now, Megan, go ahead and give the grammarian report for the whole meeting, please.
Okay. First, started at 12:04, which is great for our virtual meeting. And Devin loved the personal intro to our meeting and to the story. That was a great way to start it. And I loved how you used the word empathy, which was, and we should try something new. And Anita, great to get attention when you started your speech. And it was very informative, very nice, many benefits. And it sort of was apropos, or that you lost your place when you were talking about the benefits of the brain. And I just thought that was just sort of funny. And the percentage on the label doesn't mean anything. It's good to end speech with, is chocolate healthy? Over everything, you know, because that is the main point for what we really need. Stacy, several good rhymes, but I was just entranced, and I loved the storytelling. So I couldn't write down what rhymes, or there were so many, and it was very good. Life-changing, changing your voice with each speaker, that was great. And that was a different speech, and where you met the objectives with the different voices in the speech. And was Lewis Clark the author of that riddle? I think at the end of the riddle you mentioned Lewis Clark, so I'm assuming that Lewis Clark is the author. And Lisa, I loved how you said at the beginning of your speech about that Anita is an expert in this industry, which is a good way to start the speech. and wait, Lisa. And it was good that you gave 3 specific challenges or 3 specific things to improve upon in your speech. And Jerry, I couldn't see the eye movement of the person who was talking, but that's because my computer, it doesn't have that good of a detailed picture, but that was good to say. Good that you could see it. And Paul, when you held up the books to the screen, you said that you didn't know if it was the right way or backwards. I just wanted to let you know that it was the right way to me. I could read it. And Lisa, good future advice for traveling. Good, oh yes, Paul, it was good that you let me know when I used the word of the day. And Corey, the travel, and I love how you said it changed my life in many ways. And that you said Indonesia. And I think it is more interesting to talk about far away and uncommon places that you visit more than sorry, Paul, more than New York. Well, that's just me. Since I grew up on the East Coast, I went to New York almost every week, just once a month, I think. Well, we flew free, so I went to New York all the time, but it's good for these far away, like Egypt. That's a great place, Jesse. And Deanna, Croatia, great to show how we have that. That sneeze, that you go to Croatia, it's an Italian, pizza is Italian. And Devin, awesome to have one good souvenir. I mean, you know, when you're going through the airport, how many souvenirs there are, and the little chinchy souvenirs. And it was good that you got a good souvenir. That's great. And Jesse, I liked how you said it was dangerous. And I don't know that anyone else I mean, everyone talked about how great their vacation was. It was good that you it sort of got your attention that you said it was dangerous. And so I liked that. And I loved how Paul said, yes, and it was audacious, wasn't it, Jesse? And that was great that we got the word of the day.
Thank you, Megan. All right, Angel, if you want to give us your general evaluation.
Yes, thank you very much. Everybody was absolutely wonderful as speakers and listeners and supporters. I'm very thrilled to have been in this meeting with all of you. I particularly liked something Deanna said. It sounded like, Deanna, you said the pizza was punched with a lot of flavor. Is that right? Punched. I love that. Never heard that said before. And everybody did really, really well. Apart from Paul's brilliant word, audacity, audacious, fantastic word. None of us used it correctly or even used it at all without help. So I would love to suggest that we all use that word this week in every way that we possibly can. Be audacious, have audacity, throw that word in. If you're talking about the president, it should be easy. Over to you.
Thank you. And Corey, if you want to give us the watcher report, please.
Sure. I first wanted to point out that everyone looks really good. I see a lot of improvement in the last few weeks, and I think everybody is just maybe dressing up a little bit. They look really nice. Most people look pretty nice. And then also too, the background looks really, really good. So that's an improvement, which is really good. I got to say that Devin, you look very nice. And I don't know if you had a meeting before this, but you paint the perfect picture of what you should look like with a Zoom meeting. So Thank you. And then you have a very beautiful smile too. Anita, very beautiful smile. Jerry, very beautiful smile. I think that's really important. Just pay attention to the smile. Couple suggestions is that Megan, you kind of tend to do this a lot. And I would just, I know you're writing, maybe your desk is not big enough, but just try to maybe just write in front of you. If you just write in front of you, then it just looks like you're paying attention a little bit better. Paul, you're doing a little bit of this. Yeah, which it maybe supporting your neck, but it's a little distracting. And then Jesse, your shirt, you look very pretty. Your shirt is blending to the background a little bit. So just maybe different background or different shirt, just kind of pop out a little bit. And then Paul, I suggest getting a little light for your computer. You can get this. No, you don't have to get the huge thing. You could get this little circle thing. You can actually put it on your phone, and it just brightens up the scenery. Makes you stand out a little bit more. But good job, everybody.
Thank you, Corey. All right, we're at 103, so I'll go real fast with the winners. So best table topics goes to Deanna. Congratulations, Deanna. Best evaluator is Jerry. Congratulations, Jerry. And our best speaker is Stacy. So thank you so much. Announcement-wise, tomorrow is the District 5 Spring Conference. It starts at 8:45 in the morning. There's going to be a keynote speaker, and then awards, and then the speech contest, I believe, in that order. So if you're available, it would be great to support Lucille. They sent out a Zoom link this week. If you didn't get the district newsletter, let me know and I can forward it to you. And then does anybody else have any other announcements before we adjourn?
I was just gonna say that it might be, sorry, I was gonna say it might be interesting to see how they hold their Zoom meeting. It'd be kind of curious. That's all. Go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, real quick. To complete a goal of mine, I have to give a presentation. It's going to be a long presentation. The date I'm looking at is June 12th, following our Zoom meeting, 15 minutes, and then I'll take care of this goal. It's going to be characteristics of an effective leader. I have a, get this, PowerPoint presentation, compliments of Toastmasters, and so I'm going to knock that out June 12th, following our normal Zoom meeting. Friday.
Great, thank you. Yeah, if anybody can stay for that, that would be great. Help. We have Lisa and Stacy are trying to get their advanced manuals completed before the June cutoff. So we're doing everything we can to support that. It's a great goal.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
All right.
That speech that Stacy just gave was not from Pathways. I was excited to do one like it, but if that's the old one, that's a shame.
It was still one of the advanced manuals, but I think Pathways does have some different projects like that, just depending on what path.
I'd love
but it's usually towards the end. Level 4 and 5 are when you get into the elective speeches, and there's a lot of variety at that point.
I see that, Stacy, darling.
Oh,
Invisible. Oh wait, I had a joke for you because we didn't have a joke. The Invisible Man applied for a job during the shutdown, but he didn't take it because in the end nobody could see him doing it. The play on words for the Toastmasters. Yeah.
Yay!
Couldn't see himself doing it, I shouldn't think. Couldn't see himself doing it.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
Oh, do we need to sign up for people?